let's get started on today's warm-up. We're gonna start off really easy. All we're gonna do is we're gonna twist and come across with elbows. All right, just start easy. Now, one thing that's a great idea to get into the habit of as you start warm-ups is to get your breathing right. And you wanna kind of time your breathing with your movement. It's super hard for me to do while I'm talking, and it'll be super hard for you to do while you're talking, but you wanna breathe out. You can kind of hear that I'm breathing out on one elbow, breathing in on the other, right? Just to kind of coordinate my movement and my breath. This is a good habit to try and establish. Right? Now you could be breathing in a different rhythm than me, but just try and get some thought going in, like I'm breathing and I'm moving, not just one or the other. Because if you're moving and you're not breathing, you're not going to make it very long. Okay, enough of that one. We're going to start off with some shoulder work. So we're just kind of warming up through our core. We're going to get into our shoulders. We're going to do arms out, small circles. Now, it really makes a difference for me when I do it that I keep my fingers pulled towards my face. It adds a little extra activation into the shoulder, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get my shoulders ready. Very important to do shoulder warm-ups before you do really powerful striking. If you're doing aggressive punches and you don't warm up your shoulders, that's kind of the part that's going to get hurt, right? And you can see how small these circles are. They're tiny. Let's switch directions, go the other way. Right? And you should get some warmth in your shoulders. If they don't feel like they're getting warm, maybe move a little bit faster, right? Make your arms a little bit straighter, right? But for me, I'm feeling some warmth. Like I said, when it comes to punching, if you're just punching to the air in particular, the most likely body part that you're going to hurt is your shoulder, right? Your elbow's a very, very strong joint, right? But your shoulder, not so much. Big circles now, right? One of the guidelines for which joint is most likely to get injured when you're just moving to the air is the more mobile the joint, the more likely it is to get hurt, the less stable it is. Good, we're gonna circle the other way now. Right, and my elbow's got fairly limited movement, so it goes like that, right? One plane. Look at your shoulder, right? It goes all sorts of directions, right? So it's not a particularly stable joint, and therefore, you're likely to hurt it because it has excess mobility. Good, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Okay, so we're gonna just get some things going with our legs now. We're gonna try and bring up our knee to lightly tap our forearm. Just come up one knee, the other knee, right? And again, strong emphasis on lightly. Do not smash your knee into your forearm. That'll feel real bad. Nor should you smash your thigh into your elbow. That'll feel bad in a different way. You smash your knee really hard into your forearm, forearm loses. You smash your elbow into your thigh, thigh loses and you walk funny for a couple days. Don't do that. All right? But this is the action that we use to kind of pick up our legs for kicks, right? And for knees. So we just kind of warm that up so we get our hips ready. Good. Okay. Next, we're going to be doing a little side-to-side movement. Go a little side and a little to the side. As you're doing this, you can keep it simple and you just go from one side to the other side. And if your room doesn't have room, you can go forward and back like this. I know some people are like, I can't move that far side to side. Well, figure it out, that's okay. But as you're here, you can also add in strikes if you want. With warm-up level intensity, right? We're not punching as hard as we can. We just warmed up our shoulders a little bit, but maybe they're not quite ready. You can also do some knees if you want. You can do some kicks. The one thing about doing knees and kicks, particular kicks, go straight. See how I'm kicking off to the side here? Don't do that. Puts a lot of torque into your base knee. It's a bad idea. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So we're gonna do some tap down knees. Probably done these before. I'll show you ones from the side. If you already know how to do them, just start. One leg in front. You're gonna reach down a little bit. Come up in knee. Reach down. Come up in knee. Now this is not a stretch. It's just an activation. So I'm touching kind of the middle of my shin. I'm reasonably flexible. I can stretch much lower than that. I can touch the floor. But that's not the point. I'm not trying to stretch the muscles I'm using right now. I'm just trying to make them move. Establish blood flow. Right? Literally raise their temperature. Because when their temperature goes up, they're more elastic, tend to not tear things, just loosen them up and stretch them. Good, all right, we're switching legs. I'm gonna do these facing towards the camera. Now, go ahead and begin. One thing about this, some people get really dizzy because they're looking at their foot, then they're looking at the screen. Don't do that. Pick something, it's like 6 to 10 feet in front of you. Keep your eyes on it the whole time, right? So, I don't know, it's the bottom of a dresser, couch, something in front of you that you can see without moving your head a lot throughout this whole movement, right? So for me, I'm kind of looking at the tripod holding up the camera, and that's fine. Let's do 2 more. Okay, so we've gotten some movement in. We're going to do some light striking. Again, if you're doing striking for warm-ups, 40 to 60% speed is a great idea. Be patient. Don't rush ahead. You'll regret those kinds of mistakes. It's like speeding, right? Like going 100, 120 miles an hour because you're like, I want to get there sooner. Sometimes you don't get there sooner. Very often you get there much, much later. All right, so we're starting off with our jab cross. Kind of easy. Just move. Now, as we're doing this, feel free to think about technical things, right? One of the best things about warm-up speed is it's a great time to think about a technical thing, right? And what's the right technical thing to think about? Think about the last class that you had, or a recent class you had, private class, regular class, with a teacher. What feedback did they give you? Did they say you need to keep your hands up? Well, I think we know what your technical detail is that you think about during warm-ups. Maybe they said you have to turn your hip. I guess you know. Maybe you said you have to breathe. I honestly have no idea what they said. I mean, those are normal things I say, but that's okay. All right, we're going to switch our legs. Same basic idea. Jab cross, that basic level of intensity. Not too fast. Now, as we get deeper into the warm-up, right, maybe like, well, I did a bunch of punches on one side. I want to go from 40% to 70%. That's okay. But don't go so fast that you're at full speed. And also don't go so fast that you're not able to think about those technical things, right? Every class where you're doing the warm-up where you're supposed to go slow, think about, okay, that means I'm refining, right? Some people like to turn their brain off. I mean, not terrible, but it's a general rule of thumb. Not what we want. 3 more. 2 more. 1 more. Good. Okay, so now we're going to switch up to a regular, basic, old-fashioned front kick. Think, what's a technical thing they told me recently? Think about kicking. If you normally are pretty comfortable kicking at, chest height, you're like, I'm going to kick at belt height. Go down at least a level. Maybe that 60, 70% speed, not really snapping out, right? So go ahead, warm up intensity. Think about a technical thing, right? Maybe it's the shape of your foot. Maybe it's your base foot turning open. Maybe it's breathing out as you kick. There isn't a right answer, but there is a right answer for you. And again, the best way to know that is to remember when you've had some kind of a feedback from a teacher, right? Where they said, hey, Next challenge for you, do this. Well, don't forget. Don't forget. What did they prescribe? Maybe you should take that thing. Good. All right, switch your legs. Same basic idea on your front kick. Not too fast, not too high. Ready, and go. All right, and as you're doing this, if you're feeling a little bit more sprightly and you want to pick up your pace as you go through the kicks, that's good. But I wouldn't recommend being at full speed anywhere in this warm-up time window, right? It's not the right time to be doing it. Just stay smooth, be technical. Those are good things to think about. But again, whether you're going at 50% because your hamstring's barking, or you're at 80% because you're feeling a little vigorous. Now, one exception to that is if you came into class already warmed up, maybe, I don't know, you just did an hour of yoga, or you did 30 minutes of jogging, and you're a little bit more ready, then yeah, I guess you can pick it up. All right, so we're all done with warm-ups. Time to get started in the main part of class. Let's get to it. Today we want to work on some of the breakfall basic motions, and what we're really going to be focusing on, because we're practicing at home, probably without any real good mat underneath of you, we're going to be practicing the little technical things that make your breakfall go from being like good to like, yeah, that's going to work. So a lot of little details today. I do recommend if you have any kind of a pad you can put underneath of you, great. So a yoga mat, step in the right direction. If you have a real, like, martial arts grade mat, fantastic, even better. In the very least, like, blanket, towel, something just to take the edge off as you're in this position. Carpet floor is better than, tile floor. Tile floor is kind of the worst floor to be practicing on. Wood floor is somewhere in the middle, right? So with that being said, we're going to just go over the basic pattern of our basic motions, and then each time we're going to just kind of talk about a different detail. Now, the basic pattern is going to be left break fall, right side break fall, back break fall, front break fall, right? I'm going to be mirroring, so I'm going to consistently do right when I say left, but you're probably used to that by now, right? So let's just run through it. If you kind of know the break falls, follow along. If you're not so sure of the break falls, you want to watch, that's fine, right? So I start off, I do a left side break fall, get back up, I do a right side break fall, get back up, I do a back break fall, I sit up onto my knees, right? And then I'm going to do my front break fall. Okay. So now I'm going to just do the same thing from the side in case you didn't get a good look at it before. Feel free to follow along and just start doing them as I call them out. One thing of note, I will not be mirroring when I do them sideways. Ready? Left side break fall, right side break fall, back break fall, and then front break fall. Okay, so hopefully you got that pattern down, left, right, back, front. If you do, good. If not, well, we'll keep working on it. We're going to start going through little details. As we go through the details, you want to do all of them, right? So like by the time we're done, we might be doing like 5 details. Oh man, so many things to think about. Try and hit all of them. But yeah, do the best you can. First detail we're going to talk about is head position, right? When I do a break fall, I want to maximize the distance between my head and the floor. Because when you're falling down, there's a real tendency for your head to snap down once your shoulder makes contact, or your elbow on the front break fall. And you've got to maximize that distance to give yourself some margin of safety. So when we do our side break falls, I'll just show you this quick. I'm going to have my head up like I'm trying to make my ear touch my shoulder, okay, instead of neutral or collapsed towards the floor far away. That's going to be the same on both sides. When I do my back break fall, I'm not trying to lift my chin up. I'm trying to make my chin touch my belly button. Right? So if you get your chin towards your belly button, that's good. You won't actually touch your belly button with your chin, I hope. If you do, you might need surgery or something. And then in the front break fall, you can see this pretty well. If I'm in a front break fall and I have like this, you can see my thumb is just about able to touch my nose, depending on how big your hand is and stuff like that. But if I turn my head, that gap kind of increases. So when you do your front break fall, the way you make sure that your head isn't too close to the floor is you turn it to the side, right? A couple reasons for that. One, turning it creates more space. Two, if you're going to hit any part of your head on the floor, the side of your head is probably better than your face for most people. All right, so with that being said, we're going to run through our break falls. Same pattern. I want you to just be aware of your head position. I'm going to show it to you twice. Try and do it with me. If you're not sure what to do, you can watch, but yeah, it's hard to watch and actually do it, right? So here we go. Left side break fall, head's way up. Right side break fall, head is way up. Back break fall, try and put your chin on your belly button. And then front break fall, make sure you turn your head to the side. Okay, I'm gonna do it one more time with a side view. Again, try and follow along. Left side break fall, right side break fall, back break fall, and then front break fall. Okay, so pattern, head position. Those are important. Head position is probably more important than even remembering the pattern, but it's hard to teach you without the pattern. Next detail, elbows. What should your elbow be doing? Things like that. So let's start talking about it. When I do a side break fall, a common mistake that people make is they reach with their elbow, and you can see most of my torso is not touching the floor, right? I have to keep my elbow straight and my shoulder on the floor for 3 of these break falls, the sides and the back, right? So this is a very common mistake. You don't let your shoulder get on the floor. People say, oh, I gotta keep my head as far away from the floor as I can. Okay, yep, that is pretty far from the floor, but not what we want. Shoulder down, head up is what we're shooting for. On our back break fall, same idea. People tend to reach for the floor. You gotta let yourself go all the way down and then lift your chin up. Front break fall, it's a little bit trickier. I want my elbow underneath of my shoulder, so it's structurally sound, like any building, right? If you have a building that's a little bit tilted to the side, it's more likely to collapse, right? So when I do my front break fall, from this perspective, you can see my elbows are pretty much underneath of my shoulders. Not too far apart where you will fall through, and then too close where, first of all, it's gonna hurt your shoulders, and you're also likely to tilt off to the side, right? And then as far as from this perspective, again, elbows underneath of shoulders. I don't want to be too far forward where I'll collapse, or too far back where I'll collapse. Right? So I want you to just be aware of those details. We're going to run through the break fall basic motions 2 times. Think about pattern, head position, and then your elbows. Ready? And your shoulders, elbow shoulders. Ready? And left side break fall. Right side break fall, head way up. Back break fall, shoulders down. And then front break fall, elbows underneath the shoulders. Good. Let's do the side version, or side view, I should say, same version. Left side break fall. Right side break fall. Back break fall. And then front break fall. Okay. So, 3 details down. Next little detail we want to talk about is kind of our torso, right? What that should be doing in terms of our side, back, and then on front break fall, that's one that has some detail to it. First of all, when you do a back break fall, you're flat on your back. Both shoulder blades on the floor, right? So I'll show you that one first. Here, boom. Most people do that one automatically correctly, right? They're like, both hands have to touch the floor, both shoulders have to touch the floor, but back's on the floor. Good. But the side break fall, I do see people make mistakes on. When they do a side break fall, some people make the mistake of lying on their back and slapping with one hand, which is kind of weird. You want to be all the way on your side, okay? Where my shoulders are on top of each other, hips are on top of each other, right? That's a little detail that very early beginners make mistakes on. You want to make sure you're all the way onto your side instead of on your back. And that's true on both break falls. The front break fall, that has some of the details that are more common mistakes, and that's what we're really going to focus on now. When I do my front break fall, the flatter my body is, the more likely I am to let my belly snap down and strike the ground when I do a break fall quickly. On the flip side, the more bent your body is, the closer you get your head to the floor. Right, so I'll kind of let you take a look at that here. So if I'm here, where my hips are low, my head's pretty high, but it's hard to hold this position. You can feel your stomach engage a little bit, and it's likely that you'll just belly down if you're falling fast. That hurts. Don't do that. On the flip side, as I lift my hips really high, you can see my head gets really close to the floor because of the angle of my body, right? What I want to do is find that balance point in the middle where my hips are up, but they're not so far up that my head gets close to the floor, all right? So you got to find the right angle where you can hold it for a pretty long period of time, and that shows that you have some structural strength, but also your head is pretty far from the floor. Definitely not letting your head touch, all right? So be aware of that. We're going to do our break falls now. Same thing, 2 views, ready? Left side break fall. Right side break fall, back break fall, and then front break fall. Make sure you have your hips up a little bit, but not too far up. Right? Goldilocks situation. Okay, side view, same thing, left side break fall, right side break fall, back break fall, and then front break fall. Okie dokie. Coming along pretty well. Last detail that we want to work on today, legs, right? We're working our way down the body. Let's talk legs. When you do your side break fall, a couple things you want to do. One, you want your legs separated. If you've ever fallen down and let your legs slam together, it feels terrible. You don't want that. So I'm going to lift, and then also to make it easier to lift, I'm going to bend, right? If you hold your leg out like this for a while, you'll be like, oh, you know, that starts to become hard, sensei. Like, I feel the burning, right? We're not looking for a workout right now, right? We're trying to get to a position where you can hold it more sustainably, which indicates that you have strength and you can keep your legs from slamming down on the ground, okay? So you want this, not this. Okay, so that's going to be the trick on your side break falls. On your back break fall, you want to have your feet angled, not straight up, angled away from your head, right? So it's going to look sort of like this as compared to like this. What you'll see starts to happen is when you do your back break fall, one thing that can happen is you let your legs come too high and it picks up your hips. And when it picks up your hips, you can see my head get to the floor. We don't want that, right? So we want to be here. It also acts like a counterbalance, right? Like a seesaw, right? I have one kid on the end of the seesaw, one kid on the end of the seesaw, and it kind of balances, and it's compared to like collapsing because both kids go to the same side of the seesaw. We don't want that, okay? So again, you want to have your legs out a little bit. You can have them bent a little. Find the spot that's right for you. It'll probably feel like a little bit of an abdominal like exercise. You might be like, you know, when I do that, like my muscles are working. Not bad, okay? Front break fall. Part of the front break fall kind of goes back to the point we just made of you want to have your hips up, right? And a lot of the ways you do that is by moving your feet. So if I move my feet really far back, my hips get flatter. If I move them forward, they start to come up higher. But the other thing you want is you want your feet wide enough, right? So if you're here, this is too close. Now you can probably see my feet off to the side. You want them a little bit to the side, a little wider than hip/shoulder width. If they're too narrow, you tend to rock over to the side. And if you get too wide, you're doing a split. What could possibly be wrong with jumping into a split position? A lot. Let's avoid that. Okay, so let's make sure that we have our legs in the right spot. We're going to run through it. Same basic concept, 2 times. Be aware of your legs. On your mark, get set, go. Left side break fall. Right side break fall. Back break fall. And then front break fall. Okay, getting one more round in. Same idea, think about your legs. Ready, left side break fall. You can see this leg is bent. Right side break fall. You can see this leg is bent. Good. Back break fall. You can see my legs are pushed away from my head. And then front break fall. You're not going to see that my feet are sideways or too far apart to the side. All right, so you can practice that as much as you want. We have those 5 little details or levels: basic pattern, head position, shoulders and elbows, torso, and then legs. All those little things, they add up. So as you're practicing your break falls from a seated position, we're really focusing on ending up in the right place. Obviously, as you progress on break falls, we want to be able to do them from higher heights with more pressure. But for practicing at home without a great mat, well, not a bad way to work on those break falls and continue to improve. All right, so great job today. Let's keep moving on to the next part of class. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to be moving a little bit forward, back, side to side, whichever direction you want, and we're going to be doing a single strike for about 30 seconds. So when we'll be in our fighting stance, and maybe we'll move forward, right? And we'll kick whenever we feel like it, right? Doing only front kicks. Maybe we move back. Maybe we move sideways, okay? We'll do that after 30 seconds. We'll switch our legs, and we'll do the same thing. We're just moving a little bit in a fighting stance and throwing some kicks, right? We'll go through a bunch of our different beginner moves, each one for 30 seconds. Move as much as you want, kick as much as you want. Don't break the house. Get in a fighting stance. Ready, set, let's go. We start with a front kick, and then you move. Do your front kick. Now, it doesn't really matter which leg you're using. Just keep using the same leg for the full 30 seconds. And if you want to stand, do a few kicks in a row, you can do that. If you want to move, you can do that. You can even turn, kick a different direction. That's fine too. All right, just keep kicking. We got 3, 2, 1. Switch your legs, same idea. We're moving in a fighting stance. We're throwing a front kick. We're moving in a fighting stance. We're throwing a front kick. As you're going, make sure you're working on something. Since I'm keeping my hands up, you told me in class I need to keep my hands up to get a strike. Okay. Maybe you're trying to kick a little fast. Maybe you're bending your knee. Maybe you're keeping your eyes on the target. Just have a goal. 3, 2, 1. Switch. We got axe kicks. Do your axe kick. Remember, if you're doing an axe kick, there are a few things we look for to get you promoted. 1, keep your hands up. 2, look where you kick. 3, come back to a fighting stance. So if you watch from the side, I come back to a fighting stance, right? That's important stuff. You gotta remember to do that. Good, okay. Oh, switch your legs. Other side, same idea. Keep going. 4, you gotta kick at least as high as your tummy, right? No little baby kicks. We don't kick babies. That's considered rude, right? Now, there are other things we might think about. You got some speed in there if you're a yellow belt or higher, right? Making sure you go in and then out a little bit. It's a higher belt, right? All sorts of things we can work on. Switch your legs. Okay, we got roundhouse kick. Ready? Go. You can fall forward if you want, or you can kick and come back. You can move, you can turn, you can come back, you can move, you can kick and fall forward. Whatever it is. We're just doing some movement, doing some kicks. Again, don't kick stuff. Don't kick the dog. Switch your legs. Don't kick your sister. Don't kick your wife. Don't kick your family. Don't kick your husband. I don't know who you're kicking. Right? Don't do it. Keep moving. Nice. We're in our foul. Oh man, time is flying. We better keep moving. Good. Okay, so we're coming up on our last thing, which is lead leg side kick. Get yourself set up, move around, go. And as you're doing your lead leg side kick, make sure your foot is sideways. That's probably the biggest problem I see people run into, is they go to kick, their side kick is not sideways. Oh no, we gotta have that. Feels a little different walking around because you gotta get yourself in position to do your kick. That's okay. This one's tough for a lot of people. Good. Switch your legs. Same thing. We're almost done. Move around. Right? You can turn. Side kick. Right? Or I can face you. Side kick. You can face the other way if I want. Side kick. Whatever you do, make sure you look where you kick. Right? You don't want to look at me. Kick over there. Or break something. Oh man, time flies when we're doing side kicks. We got about 10 seconds left. Good. And that's a really simple drill to work on the 4 basic beginner kicks we should all know, and just moving around and doing them instead of standing perfectly still like we normally do. All right, so great job. Let's move on to the next part of class. All right, so we're going to be working on one of our gap closing striking combinations where we're trying to go from a neutral range into a range where I can throw strikes. And kind of what's the difference between neutral and punching and kicking, right? In punching range, I can punch them, right? Boom, 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 and hit them with punches. But it's a little bit too close to kick, right? Kicking range, I can kick, but it's a little bit too far to punch. And then when we're more in like a neutral range, I can't really do either, right? Can't kick you, can't punch you, right? I'm too far out. And what we want to be able to do is close the gap, right? This is usually a move that we would be doing if we were smaller than the other person and they're pretty strong and we want to like hit and run, or we want to close the gap because they're so tall and they keep pushing us away with front kicks. Within this combination though, there are 2 moves that are kind of like, we don't really do that very much. So what we're going to do is focus in on just learning how to do those 2 moves. And the first thing is the actual gap close, where you're going to bring up your knee and you're just going to kind of hop towards them like that, okay? Now this gap close, you could think of it as like I'm throwing your knee, think of it like you're faking a kick. The important thing is get your knee up, keep your head back, right? So as I'm here, I don't break my posture as I hop in. Right, so we're going to do, I'll do 5 of these this way, and then 5 of them towards you. So I guess you're going to do 10, I'll do 5 and 5, which is, I think, 40. Ready? 1, knee up, hop, close the gap, and reset. Now, if you have something you can use as a distance marker, great, right? But you don't need it. And 2, and reset, 3, and reset, 4, and reset, and 5. Good. You can do a few towards you, the same basic idea. 6, and reset. 7, and reset. 8, and reset. 9, reset, and 10. Good. Okay. Switch your legs. Same basic idea. I'll do a few towards you with my other side, and then I'll do a few towards the back. Ready? 1, and reset. 2, and reset. 3, and reset. 4, and reset. Now one thing, hopefully you're noticing, 5, so when you land a little bit open, okay? Do 5 more. Ready, 1. Also, you notice I'm in a fighting stance. I don't get into like a split here, right? And 2. So it's important that I land in a position where I'm ready to strike. 3, and reset. 4, and reset. 5, and reset. Okay. A couple other small details I want to talk to you about. 1, really hard to do this if your feet are far apart. And if you're here, feet wide, it ain't gonna work, right? Make sure your feet are close enough in. If you're having a hard time, move your feet closer together, right? If it's still pretty easy, you don't have to make them closer. Don't be like, well, it's super easy if I start with my feet together. You have a problem there too, right? This is kind of the same concept of like if I'm checking a kick, my feet are underneath me, it's kind of easy. If I'm here and I try and check a kick, I end up checking it with my face. All right, so we're gonna do a few more of these, right? What I want you to add in is just throw in a cross, right? So you're gonna come here, close the gap, throw a cross, okay? It's actually part of the combination. We're not really focusing on the combination today, but if you can throw your cross, that hop in probably went pretty well. Ready? Pick a side, doesn't matter to me as long as you do 5 on each side. Ready? 1, skip in, boom, and come back. 2, boom, and come back. 3, boom, and come back. 4, boom, come back. 5. Okay, switch it up, same basic idea. I'll do these 5 sideways. Right? 1, boom, come back. 2, boom, come back. 3, boom, come back. 4, boom, come back. 1 more, 5, boom, and come back. So simple, almost too easy. All right, so we're gonna take a break from this, and we're gonna talk about kind of a hook and uppercut combination. People call it a uppercut. That's terrible, right? So what we're doing is we're throwing a hook to the body that comes up at this kind of an arc, right? So after I throw my cross, be like, boom, just like that. It's not flat, it's not an uppercut, right? Those tend to be parallel to the ground, perpendicular to the ground. This is kind of on the 45, right? And you'd make contact maybe like the ribs, aim for their shoulder, right? So set yourself up. I'll mirror for you, so you want to use your left leg in front, right? We're doing that left kind of hook uppercut combo. 1, just like that. 2, 3, 4, 5, and angling up a little bit. 6, make sure it's to the ribs. 7, not too high. 8, 9, 10. Okay, switch your legs. Same basic idea. You have your right leg in front. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Gotta wind up and then punch. 4, wind up your shoulders, then punch. 5. Let's go 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see, you got that angle to it. Not flat, but you would be making contact at the rib height, working your way up. So now we're just going to add in a cross before it. Now this actually makes the punch much easier to throw, right? Because when I throw my cross, it sets my body up for that hook / uppercut combination. Ready? 1, cross, hook, kind of uppercut combo. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Switch your legs. I want to talk for a second about how much you should follow through. As you throw something like a hook, you end up rotating till about your elbows in front of you, right? That's good habits where you're not overextending yourself, and also forces you to keep from over punching, which can hurt you, right? Where you throw that giant, big swinging punch, that'll actually cause some potential problems with your shoulder. Not if you do it once, but you do that like 1 million times, yeah, it's bad for you, right? So from here, cross, and stop to see my elbows kind of in line with my shoulder, right? Didn't go too far, not too little, just right, Goldilocks. Ready? 2, cross, and hook uppercut. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okie dokie. Now what we're going to do for our final little segment for this is we're going to put those moves together we're going to hop in, throw across, then throw that hook. I'm not going to use this bag because frankly, this bag flies around too much for me if I'm trying to keep a high rhythm. As I'm doing this, I got to kind of pause, so I won't be using this, but if you have a heavy bag you want to use, feel free to play with that. Don't hit too hard, particularly when you do this kind of upward angle. A lot of times people will scrape their knuckles. They'll be like, ow, that hurts. I'm like, yeah, it does. All right, so I'm coming at you. You're going whichever way you want. Ready, 1, hop in, cross, and then that hookish, uppercutish. Ready, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, make sure you land in a good place. It's so important. 7, if you're out of control, you're gonna have a hard time controlling yourself. It makes sense. 8, 9, remember, we want power under control, not one or the other. 10, switch it up, same thing, the other side. If you want to challenge yourself on this, one way you can challenge yourself, see how far you can close that gap while still landing properly. So if you're like, man, it's too easy, Sensei Jeff, you're going too slow for me, you're teaching the lower belts. All right, cover more ground. All right, don't go 3 feet, go 8 feet. I can't do that. Then don't complain. Ready? And 1, close the gap. Boom, boom. Ready? And 2, close that gap. Boom, boom. 3, close the gap. Boom, boom. Or maybe you're struggling with it. Close the gap a little bit less. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, very nice. So plenty more details to work on for that, but if you add in those 2 moves that are kind of newish and unique to this particular striking combination, at least in terms of stuff we typically do for below black belt curriculum, we're on the right track. But for now, let's keep moving on to the next part of class. Alrighty, Roo. Time for some end of class stretching. We're going to start off with a little butterfly stretch. We're going to make sure we have our feet pretty close together, pretty close to our body, feet pretty close to our body. So this way as compared to this way, all right? And then we want our knees pretty close to the floor, and we're just going to lean forward a little bit. Now, your goal here is to not get your head to the toes. I see people do that all the time. That's not what this stretch is about. This stretch is about getting your belly down towards your heels. So instead of curling my back, I keep it straighter, right? So you can see if I twist to the side, you can see I'm keeping my back pretty straight. So I'm going to try and curl in like that. Keep this, right? And then find what works for you. Don't forget to breathe. I find this is a very important and useful stretch for people who need to kick higher on their roundhouse kicks. Trying to keep your knees down, right? Some people, they do this, their knees start to creep up. Right? One of the tricks you can do to help with that is just lightly push down with your hands on your knees. Don't go crazy, right? Don't start bouncing and tearing. Just a little light pressure, and then just relax. Another thing that may be useful for you is for some people, they sit like this and they can't even get to here. They're like stretching, like, oh, this hurts, and it makes it really hard to relax. In which case, you could put something underneath your behind. You could put something like a rolled up blanket, right? Yoga block. There are a million different things you can put that raises your hips, lets you sag forward and relax. And for a couple of stretches today, if you're having a hard time trying to get this posture where you lean forward, putting something underneath of you can make it a little bit easier, right? But it has to be just underneath your behind, not underneath your feet, otherwise it ruins the whole point. Okay, so from here, we're gonna sit up, we're gonna do our next stretch, we're gonna take our feet, we're gonna bring them off to the side, I'm gonna center myself a little bit in the camera, and we're just gonna lean forward a little bit. Depending on who you are, you're going to feel this in different places. You might feel it more in the back of your legs. You might feel it more on the inside of your legs. Wherever you feel it, that's fine for me. As long as you're getting that stretch in the muscle. If you feel it in your knee, that's something you want to avoid. But if you feel it in the muscles, either in your back or in your legs, not so bad. And remember, when I say muscle, I'm really talking about like the middle of the joint, right? So in the middle of the bone. So here is good. Close to my knee, not so good. Close into my hip, not so good. The way muscle works is you got the muscle part and then it's attached with cartilage. And if you feel the stretch at the end, it means you're stretching the cartilage, not the muscle, which is not what we want. Right? That destabilizes your joint, makes it so you can tear things. That's a bad idea. Let's not tear anything today, shall we? All right, from here we're going to do some mild adjustments where we're going to start crawling a little bit. Now, as you crawl from one side to the other, you might find a really sticky spot for you, right? Like you might be like, oh, right here, I really feel that in the muscle in the right way. You can stick there for a couple extra seconds. Just let that relax, right? Or you can keep walking to the other side. The good goal here is if you can get your hand to get to the outside of your leg, probably rotated enough, right? And then you can start to walk back to the other side. As you walk, try and stay low, right? So you can see I'm putting my elbows on the floor, right? And I couldn't have done that at the beginning of the stretch because I had to stretch out a little bit. But now as I'm getting deeper in, my body's starting to be ready for it. And again, if you get to that sticky spot, you're like, oh, that spot's really not so happy with this stretch. Take an extra second there, right? For me, I pulled my hamstring on this leg a couple weeks back. Still have some mild tenderness, so giving this one a little extra time. Don't go crazy, don't overdo it, but a little bit. Come back to center. And again, if you want to find your spot, you can walk a little bit, play with that. Just this little modification helps you find those little things that are going to inhibit your range of motion as you do a kick, right? Particularly useful for high roundhouse kicks, high side kicks. Good, and come on up. Okay, we're coming along pretty nicely. We're going to really focus in on the hamstring. So we're going to bring one leg in, one leg out, and stretch down. I'm going to show you this one from the other side in about 2 seconds. Right? You can see here, the goal here is to try and get both hands to reach pretty evenly. Right? Sometimes I see people have like one hand back, or they start to reach over this way. Those are slightly different stretches. They're not wrong, they're just not necessarily what we're doing. Now, if this stretch is too easy for you and you want to try a more advanced modifier, go for it. But for most people in our classes, this is a good challenge for you. And again, if you can't reach your toes, you can only grab your ankles. It's okay, right? And again, if you can't even get this ankle, if you're like struggling to get even to here, and it's like kind of fighting, you feel like you have to engage your abdomen just to pull yourself forward. Put something underneath your behind, have your foot a little bit lower. Works wonders. Good, ease up. We're going to switch the other leg. This one I'm not going to bother giving you the side view on. I'm just going to turn straight towards you. And again, lean forward. Find the variation for you that works best. Again, doing the basic is probably right for most people. A little thing that I like to tell most people tend to let their foot flop out. Try and think about pulling your pinky toe towards your face. If you do that, you'll be like, ooh, mom, I feel that one differently. Okay, I'm not your mom, but okay. Couple more seconds. Good, and ease up. So, good guideline, whenever you're doing stretches, you should feel pretty warmed up if you're going for those long stretches, right? So today we did our warm up early, we did some striking, so you should feel a little bit ready to do those deeper stretches. And feel free to do them longer, right? 30 seconds or more, that's gonna really start to increase your range of motion. It's also a great thing to do while you're doing something else. So, I mean, you could sit here in this stretch while you're watching the video or reading a book or whatever, and just kind of relax there, right? Don't go too deep, just kind of let your body go to where it's supposed to be. But again, you might need to have something lifting up your hips to make that easier for you if you're a little bit on the tighter side. But I think for today, we're going to call it there. Great job. Thanks for coming, everybody. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.